What is up, guys? This is your boy Superior Simmer. Today I have more information regarding The Sims 4. If you guys like news, updates, and discussions, please hit the sub button. And if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. Also remember to set your post notifications to personalized so you don't ever miss a video. And lastly, I do have an affiliate link with Instagaming to bring you guys cheaper Sims packs. If you guys are planning on buying the Sims 4 Life and Death expansion pack, you will get it at a 28% discount. There are also other expansion packs like For Rent, Love Struck, Growing Together that are under $20, which is just insane. Again, link in the description. Without further ado, let's get into the content. Okay, so the developer Livestream dropped the other day and they gave us some new information on some features. Now, at the time of this recording, the Creator Network people have been dropping their videos. So if you want a more in-depth look on all the features coming to this pack, you can watch their videos. There's also been some reviews that have come out. I'm just going to be going over some key features that we learned in the live stream, and of course I will be doing a review myself once I get my hands on the pack. I also will be live streaming on YouTube playing the pack, so yeah, stay tuned for that. Now, starting off with the first trait that we saw was a chase by death. Now, they did mention that Sims are more likely to die with the chase by death trait, but these near-death experiences make them happy. They can also progress through their soul's journey, which we'll talk about later, quicker. And lastly, the game doesn't notify if your sim is going to die. So one example that they gave is if your sim gets electrocuted, the game kind of tells you like, hey, if this sim gets electrocuted again, they will die. The game does not give you any type of notice, it just happens, which I think is really cool. So yeah, now with the macabre trait, it says Sims with this trait do not fear death. They're into occults, they like the darkness, and they like hanging out in crypts. So they're basically people who just like revel in darkness. They love all things that are dark. Now with skeptical Sims, they don't believe in any occults, and they'll ask for proof if they do approach an occult. So it's not just with ghosts, which again is overhauled in this pack. It's with werewolves, vampires. One thing that was also mentioned in the trailer is if your sim is an occult but also is skeptic, they'll find it hard to believe that they're occults themselves, which is really cool. So that can lead to like very interesting gameplay. Overall, I think each trait is unique and it adds different type of gameplay. This to me is something fresh that we haven't seen before, which I like. Now there's a special trait called the Grimborn trait. You obtain this trait by having kids with the Grim Reaper. They obtain the scythe birthmark on their neck, and they also get a bigger lifespan. Now, depending on your playstyle, this might not be something that you're like, like happy about, because I know some people like to play with the long lifespan or just, turn aging off altogether. Now, for Grimborn Sin does have a child, that child will get a different trait called the offspring of Grims. So they don't get the birthmark or the extended life, but they are just a descendant of Grim, which I thought was really cool. So you'll still kind of have like the connection, but only Grimborns get like the special features. Now, there also is a new pet crow that you can interact with. This is very similar to what we have with the My First Bullshit, where you have like the hamsters. So they're kind of locked to like an object. They can't just like free roam and walk around like the dogs and cats from the expansion. And there are different types of social interactions. So you can have it teach it mimicry. You can send it out to receive gifts. That's something that I've seen in real life with like birds in general. I've seen owners teach their birds to fly outside and find money and bring it back. And if you have the macabre trait, you can plot evil things with it. You can also give it gifts if you want to increase the relationship. Of course, you can name it. And this is also a new death type. So if you keep provoking the crow, there is a high chance that eventually it will, basically kill you. Again, I'm kind of indifferent with this crow pet because yeah, it kind of sucks that it's locked to like the object, but shout out to the boy Brian because he did mention that it was the same thing with Sims 3. It would have been nice for the Sims 4 to be the first to do it, like have birds and stuff follow you around. But again, as long as it's fun to interact with it, I don't think it's like a big deal. But I know for some people they might feel different. So yeah, it really just comes down to personal preference. Now there is a new lot trait called Hollow Ground. This can give you lowered bills. It possesses your TV, cause rifts that you can get gifts from. And they also mentioned that you can pair this with the haunted house trait from the paranormal activity stuff pack. They said both those traits work well together to give you some interesting gameplay, so I'm very excited to see how that's going to work. They didn't go into too much detail about the rifts, but they were hinting like some stuff. It must be something really cool because they really did not want to spoil it. So again, when we get the game, we'll see for ourselves. Now moving on to heirlooms. They said you can make almost any object into an heirloom, and there's also labels that tell you which object can become an heirloom, but you can also turn it off if you don't want that. Just like the wheels, which we'll talk about in a second, you can also add custom messages so you can kind of engrave something on it. Now with heirlooms, you can also summon the past owner, but there's always a chance that they won't show up. I found this funny during the stream. You can also pawn it for money, and of course you can designate who the heirloom will go to in your family or maybe like another household. So you have a lot of options with that when you create your will. Now, one thing I found really cool was they explained during the live stream, when you read your will in front of other sims, they all react differently depending on their traits and relationship with the deceased sim. So for example, if the deceased sim leaves you with nothing and your sim is a materialistic sim and they also don't like the deceased sim, they'll be like outraged and angry that they left them nothing, which I think is so cool because again, it just adds layers to the wills. Versus it's the same thing, but this sim is a happy sim, you have a good relationship with that sim, they're not going to care, they're not going to be like upset about that, they're just going to be like whatever, it's fine. Which again is such a cool detail, and I like the fact that it incorporates your sims' traits and relationships when it does stuff like this. It just adds more layers, which is just insane to me. Now with the bucket list and the unfinished business, I'm a visual learner, so looking at it now, it's like, okay, I understand how this works. Now if you complete bucket list goals or aspirations, you unlock different tracks. So one little perk you get when you go up the bucket list is like you get increased satisfaction points. Again, you use those to go into the rewards store to buy like different things like potions and like extra traits. Now with unfinished business, only happens when you die and become a ghost, so that's separate from the bucket list. Now with the bucket list, it has different replayability. It's not always like the same thing. The bucket list will keep the gameplay fresh with things that you normally don't do. As a player, you kind of get trapped into the same routine when you're playing your sims. This is going to push you to do different things that you normally don't do with your sim. Now you can write a goal or a perfect goal, or just write a goal from a random category. Now when you do create a goal, it's random based off your sims' traits and aspirations. So the more packs you have, the more options you get. And let's say the game is just giving you random bucket list stuff that, you know, isn't part of your story. You can just scrap the bucket list and then start over. Now this one's a little bit confusing, but they said the perfect goal isn't available right away. They said you have to do certain interactions to click it, but Chased by Death Sims can create one right away just because they're living life on edge. So I guess that's like a benefit because again, they don't know when they're gonna die. Now goals will also update depending on where your sim's life. So for example, on the stream, it'll say have another kid. The game will recognize that you already have one kid, so it's not going to say have a kid. It'll be like have another. So it's always updating depending on where your sim's life is. Now looking at the different categories I saw during the stream, there was I want to get busy, I want to party, I want adventure, I want success, I want a great family, I want to create, I want to travel, I want something else. So when they click the want to travel one, now again, this is where the cross-pack compatibility stuff comes in, because if you say you want to travel, the game will prompt you to go to Granite Falls. So if you have the outdoor retreat pack, it'll tell you to do stuff like that. Now once you complete a bucket list, you'll have the option to be reborn. But yeah, overall, I think the bucket list is a great idea because for one, it pushes you to do different things, like I've said like 10 times already, and it keeps the gameplay fresh. There's obviously a lot of replayability here. In each track you go up, you gain like different perks, which ultimately leads you being reborn. So this will push a lot of people who are scared to lose their sims, because obviously we save and then we just go back to our recent save. This pack is obviously advertising a lot of players to kill off their sims because it's not technically game over. You can still continue to play if you be reborn, but it's also like a new game plus once you come back, especially with the unfinished business playing as a ghost. That also plays a key part in being reborn again. I know a lot of people are very hesitant about this because it does feel similar to the midlife crisis stuff, but I don't think this is going to be like a one and done situation like with the lifestyles that we got from Snowy Escape. This clearly is something that is going to keep updating as we get new packs. I definitely want to play with this more and then really come to a decision, but based off what I've seen so far, this feels like something fresh and new. So I really want to play this feature and, you know, just see how it changes up the game. With wills, you can create it during the Family Day Festival. So there's a person you can go to talk to do the will. You can go to City Hall, which is a rabbit hole. You can also do it on the computer, or you can hire someone to come to your house and help you. And you always have the option to update the will. So if you feel like maybe this sibling should get this instead of that sibling, or maybe that friend should get something instead of that other friend or whatever, you can always update it. And you can also designate where your kids live too. So if you were to pass away, you can say your kids are going to live with this neighbor or that family member. And you can also choose where your money goes to from a household. So from what I've heard, it's not like to a single person, it's literally to a household. So you would have to have your kids, I guess, move out for them to inherit the money. I don't think it's like in the household, which is very interesting, but I guess makes sense. And you can also do like and there's also like percentages of how much money you can give. And you can give it to charity if you just have nobody, or you have like no friends, no family, you want to just give it to charity, or that's what you want to do. Now, while you're still living, you can also choose what you want at your funeral and like what gravestone / urn that you want. So you can say on your will that you want everyone to dance and have a good time and eat and just, you know, talk and socialize. Or maybe you want people to just mourn your death, have like a moment of silence and there's no music, no dancing. You choose like what you want at the funeral, and then whoever is holding your funeral can, like, you know, do your wishes, but it's up to them if you want to. Like, you don't have to follow what your sister, brother, dad says on their will. Like, you can just ignore everything and do your own thing, or like, again, like follow their wishes on what they want for their funeral. So I think that's really cool. Again, there's so much layers to this stuff. Now, after losing someone, you can develop different types of grief. Apparently there's 5. So there's different stuff that can happen when it comes to grief. There are Sims that can like hold it together and not gonna like show too much emotion. There's also denial and anger. And they said like if you have the macabre trait, those Sims are more likely to hold it together because, again, they're into the whole darkness and stuff. So that stuff doesn't bother them as much as like a normal sim would. And they said there's different ways that you can deal with. So one of many things that they mentioned is painting. Painting can help deal with grief. And there's also counseling. Now, for those who don't know, there is couples counseling in Lovestruck, and I feel like a lot of people don't talk about it or know about it. It is a rabbit hole, but it's way more than that. When you go to couples counseling, the couples counselor kind of asks you like, what do you want to work on the relationship? What's like the end goal? What's the issue? How do you want to resolve it? I thought that was such a really cool thing that they added. Again, not everything needs to be like gameplay. Like I'm fine with like this being a rabbit hole. And so the fact that there's just regular counseling in the game now, I think is really cool. And again, grief is not just like with losing someone. They also mentioned that you can experience grief if you get your heart broken or you lose a job. So it's not just with death. There also is a thanatology skill. I think it goes up to level 5, but it could be wrong. It makes you speak dead languages. I don't know what that really means. But yeah, you like teach your sim dead languages and you can create a special soup. Don't know what the special soup means. They just kind of hinted at it and then they just went to like the next segment. So I don't know. It sounds interesting. But yeah, now there is a new aspiration called the Ghost Historian. The whole objective is to investigate ghosts. You can also go to the Well of Longing and Regret. You can like make wishes and stuff there, and it's occupied by this little girl named Edith. Now, if you're successful with her, you have a more positive chance of getting wishes from the Well of Longing and Regret. If you're not, she will scare you and your Sims will run away. And apparently Edith is nicer to kids, so she vibes with kids better than adults. Now, there are 6 festivals that are confirmed. I don't know all of them. I know one of them is Family Day, a celebration festival. So yeah, I don't know all of them, but there are 6 festivals in total. And again, I mentioned this earlier, but we do have a city hall which can help you kind of navigate this like the pack. So if you're looking for something specific, you can click on the city hall and it'll literally like point your camera to where you have to go if you get lost. There are 2 haunted houses that you can explore like in like the main city square. So there's like some interesting gameplay there. There's also a crypt that you can go explore as well, and you can use that crypt to join the Undertaker career, and you can also woohoo in the crypt. They also mentioned like a shady ghost you can buy like souls from. If you work the Grim Term job, you know you need like souls to like meet your quota, so you can like buy them from there. You can also, if you are a ghost and you collect essence, you can sell it for money. So there's that. And there is a new lot type, which is a cemetery. Now with the Grim Turn job, they did said that you can decide whether or not you want to, reap lives or save them. Now they also mentioned that during your time playing as a Grim Turn and you're, like reaping souls, you could run into Sims in your save file in the world. But again, you have the option to not like reap their souls. So if you don't want to kill off your Sims in the save file, you don't have to do that. But I think that's such a cool thing. Now, when it comes to creating funerals, it's similar to creating dates in Lovestruck. Again, you don't have to do everything in the will that the sim wants. And there is a good chance that the departed sim will show up during their funeral. It is more like a wake though, so keep that in mind. And mind you, this stream was with all the packs. So what we saw during the live stream when they hosted the funeral, everything was working fine. There wasn't really any issues that I saw personally. You can also put objects on their memorial. So, if they have like a special, I don't know, like toy or a book or something that they've, written, you can put that on there. You can put urns and caskets, and then you can, put a drape on top of the casket. And you can also change the grave sites to be like either dirt or stone. So there's that. Now they did confirm that nervous subject is called Nyan. I kept calling him Nylon in the stream, but his name is Nyan. And you can actually do quests from him with the tarot card stuff. So there's different types of tarot decks. You can buy a tarot deck from Build Buy, and that can help you, do readings. You can like read one. you can pull a card from the deck and it'll be like you're reading for the day. So you can only do like one card pull every 24 hours, and it gives you like a special message. Like it's a full-blown full screen thing where you see the card and it tells you something like, oh, this card is in reverse, something, which is really cool. Now there are quests that you can find special cards from. Again, one of them being Nyan, he has a quest for you. And the cards give you hints to find the other cards, which is really cool. And there's 41 cards in total. Now, me and Brian, shout out to boy Brian again, we were in the stream and we're like, can you make money from the tarot card reading? Now, they didn't show that you can make money from the tarot card readings during the stream, but I watched another content creator, shout out Urban Sim. During the video, she had a deck of cards that she got from Build Buy, and she was able to click on the sim and do a card reading. Now, there was two options. You can do a tarot card reading, or you can do one for 30 simoleons. So you can make money from doing tarot card readings. I was really upset when they didn't show it in the stream, but it is confirmed that you can make money off tarot card readings. So I think that's amazing. And lastly, when you do create the special deck, there's like a special thing that happens when you do tarot card readings. They didn't really go into detail what that is, but some crazy thing can happen. Now, some other stuff here, you can add ghosts to your household right away with the urn. So you can click on that deceased sim's urn and say, hey, I want to add this ghost to the household. Now, if a sim dies and you want to plead for their sim's life, you can challenge Grim to these different challenges based on what packs you have. So one thing that they mentioned was hopscotch. So if you have growing together, you can literally play hopscotch with Grim for that Sims' life. You can also challenge Grim to chess and try to save that Sims' life. But they said that it's a very low chance that you'll beat him. Now they added a new feature with life and death where you can change the color of your ghost, and you can disable emotional color. So you know how like your Sims will get really happy, they'll turn green, or if they're uncomfortable, they'll turn orange. You can disable that and set a different color for your ghost. So they can be red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, pink, magenta, fuchsia, whatever, cyan. There's different colors that you can choose from, and you don't have to have the emotional stuff on, so you can disable that, which I think is amazing. So yeah. Now they said with the Bayful Bog, that's where you go to be rebirthed. You can have an out-of-body experience and become a ghost. So you can play as a ghost for like a few hours in sim game. But if you do it too much, you can actually die. So that's another death that they hinted at, which is like insane. Now one thing they mentioned is the ghost cow plants that we've been seeing in the trailers and the streams. They said if you want one, you can go into the reward store and buy one with satisfaction points. Now, if you complete your unfinished business, you get the Burning Soul trait. And from my understanding, you get like an extra trait and some other stuff. So after you complete your bucket list and then you die, you become a sim, you do your unfinished business. Once you complete your unfinished business, you get the Burning Soul trait. And it's kind of like a new game plus, because you don't come back with all your traits, but you come back with a few. If you don't do your unfinished business, you can come back, but you don't get your traits. You'll be like a fresh sim. The Burning Soul trait is basically new game plus, because you get to carry pieces of your old self into your new life. So that's how like both of those tie together. And lastly, in the Morning Vale, there's Alice, the Weeping Mother, who has a quest line, and there's 3 districts. There's Crow's Crossing, the Morning Vale, and Whispering Glen. So apparently each district kind of has like their own different lighting. The Morning Vale is definitely going to be your more creepy, occult, like ghosts floating around area, where Whispering Glen I feel like is kind of more like in the middle. And then the Crow's Crossing is definitely more for like just like realistic players, I guess, if you don't want to see like all that cult stuff. I could be wrong, because obviously ghosts might be roaming in all 3 of them, but Morning Vale and Crow's Crossing are very opposite from each other in terms of like the atmosphere. Now when it comes to the lots, we have 14 lots in total. We have 2 64x64 lots, which is insane. There's a 30x20 lot, a 30x30, another 30x20, 50x50, another 50x50, a 30x30, another 30x30, a 30x20, a 30x30, and then a 20x20. I don't even know why I even said all that. And then there's another 30x30. That was such a weird way I explained it. I'm never doing that again. But yeah, we do have 2 64x64 lots and 2 50x50 lots, which is insane. But yeah, overall guys, based off the stuff I've seen, you know, the streams, the trailers, all the information given to us, I feel like this is going to be an EP, bro. This definitely feels like it's going to be an EP. There's a lot to unpack here, a lot of like just content. And I think like my biggest thing is the bucket list, because I feel like that's something that's going to have replayability. You know, it's always going to keep the game fresh. Again though, I want to go in and play for myself, have a good grasp of this pack before I start like glazing it, because it could be, you know, repetitive and boring, you know. But based off everything we've seen so far, this feels like an actual expansion. There's definitely something for everyone. And yeah, it's really exciting to see just like the gameplay and stuff. Like, I like the fact that that whole live stream was just gameplay. It wasn't until near the end where they showed like the build and buy stuff, and that was like at the end of the live stream. So they obviously clearly put in a lot of work here. And even the lore, if you love lore, there's definitely gonna be a lot of lore with this pack. And the fact that there's so much cross pack compatibility is like the biggest thing for me, because I've been preaching that I want more of that with my older packs. I feel like the older packs shouldn't just be like outdated stuff that like never gets updated. Like, I feel like all these packs should work together to, you know, give us new features with old features. So I like the fact that they're, you know, really pushing for cross pack gameplay with this one. But yeah, comment down below your thoughts and opinions on how you guys feel about this. But yeah, if you guys made it to the end of this video, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for watching. This has been your boy Superior Simmer. Stay cool, stay simming, and have a good day.